everybody. Hope all are doing well. So you all are familiar that we all are facing the problem of COVID-19. So the school has taken up the initiative to go on with online classes. So myself, Nafisa Hudli, who will be taking biology for your 9th standard. So without wasting much time, let us start with the subject. Right? So the first chapter that you have in biology is the fundamental unit of life. Now when we say life, what does it refer to? So many answers come in your mind, right? When I say a living organisms, you can say a dog, a cat, you even specify it as plants also, right? So living organisms are those which display movement. It's not only in the sense of moving around, though plants are living organisms, but they are stationary, right? Now fundamental. What do you mean by this word fundamental? The basic thing that is required for a life. So children, I will give you one example to bring a clarity in the concept. You might have seen the construction work going on, right? You see that the person who is building the building, he keeps one brick above the other, right? Making a whole wall. So the brick is the basic fundamental for the building. In the same way, the animals or the living organisms, they have a basic thing that builds up the body. So what is that basic thing which builds up the body? The basic thing is cell. As the building is built up using one brick, in the same way the body of an organism is built up using cells. So the fundamental unit of life is cell. Then maybe you have one more question. Who is called the fundamental unit of life? The answer is cell is called as the fundamental unit of life. Little bit moving to the history of cell. Like how did it come into existence? Who gave it the name called as cell? Right? A biologist named Robert Koch in the year 1665. He was experimenting with many cells. So he took a cork. Cork is nothing but a wooden piece, soft one. He observed it under a self-made microscope. He could observe, when he saw it under a microscope, he saw a structure, boxes-like structure which resembled the honeycomb. And he called those boxes as cell. It is since the year 1665, the word cell was introduced, and till today the same word cell is used in biology. Now as I use the word that Robert Hooke made his own microscope. So now what we are using today is the compound microscope. Now let us study about the compound microscope. You might have seen that some of the organisms are not visible to our eyes, right? They are very microscopic, right? Very small inside, which are not present to our naked eyes. So what we do? We see them under microscope. Let me show you how does a microscope look like. This is a microscope. Now we will be studying about the parts of a microscope. This whole thing is called as a microscope, right? So this is the body of the microscope, which we call it as arm. The main thing through which we see this thing is called as eye lens. It is through with this eye lens we are able to see the microorganisms, right? Now here we have the lenses which are having resolutions written as 45mm and 10mm. So these resolutions enable us to zoom the image of the organism which we are seeing it, right? Now here we have the lenses, and here there is a coarse adjustment, right? You can see this, through which the passage of light, what we require, is adjusted. This is called as the stage of microscope. Here we are having a lens. One sided is concave and another side is convex lens, right? So the organism which you need to see is placed over the stage, right? You might have seen when you go for a blood checkup, right? For to know your blood group, they take your blood on a glass sheet, right? That is placed over here on the stage, and through the eye lens, this is what we call as eye lens, it is observed. Light adjustment is adjusted by this lens, and this part, can you see this? This is called as coarse adjustment. Roughly you can adjust the image, and this is called as the fine adjustment, right? Minor adjustments can be done via this. So this is in just about a compound microscope. Once in brief, this is called as the eye lens. This is called as the arm of the microscope. These are the lenses. This is the stage. Here you have the coarse adjustment, and this is called the lens which allows the light to be reflected at the top, and this is called as the stage where the glass slab is placed. So this is all about a compound microscope. Now, as I said, a cell is single cell is not visible to the eye. So here in your syllabus there is a activity which helps you to see the cell of a simple thing which you can take is an onion. You might have seen onion, right? You need to peel the onion, place it on the slide and observe it under the microscope. And you need to put, there is a way to see it using phenolphthalein coloring is done. Okay, we will be discussing about it later. Just now I am giving you the gist. When you take the onion peel and observe it under the microscope, you can see structures like this. Right? You will find the structures like this are visible under the microscope. Now this each structure is a cell. Each structure is a cell. As I said you, the fundamental unit of life is cell. How do you say cell? Cell is a single cell, right? A group of cells. A group of cells make tissues. A group of tissues makes organs. A group of organs makes organ system. And a group of organ systems makes the body of an organism. This is the basic concept of life. As I said, the basic fundamental unit of life. I said, the bricks build the whole building. In the same way, the cells build up the whole body. Now, single cells. When the cells come together, they are called as tissues, right? Let me take the example of heart. Heart is an organ. Heart is an organ, right? It consists of tissues, and these tissues are made up of cells. So heart is organ. Now what is the organ system here? Now this heart is having heart. Along with it are associated blood vessels. Now like arteries and veins. As you know, heart pumps blood to all the parts of the body, and this blood is carried by these blood vessels. So heart along with these blood vessels is called as an organ system, which you say it as circulatory system. Which you say it as circulatory system. Now which are the different organ systems in our body? Like digestive system, excretory system, right? So these all different type of systems come together to make a body. So if you go back, you will find that the whole body is made up of group of cells. That is why cell is called as fundamental unit of life. Now moving forward. Some of the microorganisms are small. performs all the functions. So they are called as unicellular organisms. And there are organisms in which many cells come together to perform the function. So such organisms are called as multicellular organisms. Now let me make the concept much clearer. Now unicellular organisms means a single cell. A single cell will carry out the function of digestion, it will carry out the function of respiration, it will carry out the function of excretion. All these functions are carried out by these single cells. The best example that you can give for this is amoeba. You all are familiar from your lower classes. What is amoeba? Amoeba is nothing but a single celled organism in which one single cell is going to perform all the activities, right? So, unicellular organisms are those organisms in which a single cell performs all the functions. When you move to multicellular, the word multi itself says that the organism is made up of many cells. Just previously I have told you, many cells come together to form tissues, many tissues come together to form organ, many organs come together to form organ system of a body. So many cells come together to form the body of a cell. That is why it is called as a multicellular organisms. Here they are having different cells which perform different functions. Now just example, we human beings are having the best ever example you can have. Because we are having a different system, organ system for breathing, we are having a different organ system for digestion, we are having a different organ system for circulation of blood, right? So we are having many cells which make our body. So the organisms are made up of unicellular or single cell and multicellular, which means many cells. Now in cells also we are having different types of cells. So let us study about the different types of cells. Now as I have told you, cells are of two types, right? One is prokaryotic cell and another is eukaryotic cells. Please don't confuse it with unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular says it is a single cell, multicellular states there are many cells present in the organism. Now when we say the cell, here we are speaking about the different types of cells. Now there are two types of cells, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Just let me have a rough diagram of a cell. When we say a cell, you usually draw a circular part and you give a dot which you stated as a nucleus, right? Now the main thing, the main difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell is this nucleus is having an outer covering. It is having an outer covering. The nucleus is covered outside, right? And this you call it as a nuclear membrane. I repeat, it is called it as nuclear membrane. The major difference is prokaryotic cells, nuclear membrane is not present. No. Just can be helpful for you to remember. No. That is no nuclear membrane is present. But in eukaryotic cell, this nucleus is having the covering which you call as a nuclear membrane. So, nuclear membrane is absent in a pro or no karyotic cell and nuclear membrane is present and major difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Nucleolus. So this nucleus is again having one small point inside the nucleus, which you call it as nucleolus. So this nucleolus is absent in prokaryotic cell, whereas it is present in a eukaryotic cell. Now, third point is membrane-bound cell organelles. When I use the word organelles, it refers to the mitochondria which is present. It refers to the ribosomes. It refers to Golgi apparatus. It refers to the ribosomes which are present, right? So these all common word that is used is organelles. The common word that is used is organelles. So whichever organelles which are having this membrane-bound organelles are absent, whereas in eukaryotic cells these membrane-bound organelles are present, right? Now in the nucleus chromosomes are present, which we always take it with a thread-like structure. So prokaryotic cells are having a single chromosome, whereas eukaryotic cells are having single or many chromosomes. So this is the major difference between a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. So the prokaryotic cell example is bacteria, and eukaryotic cells is present in higher organisms, what you call it as plant cell, animal cell, right? So till now we have studied about a bit history of the cell. Robert Hooke in the year 1665 he discovered the name for the cell which is used till now. Then we have studied about the compound microscope. Then we studied about the different types of cells, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cells. The rest thing we will continue in the next class.